the G.
Salute NBK or NBA fam and NBK fan. My name is Stephanie from the Queen's Court.
And I'm Tony Crow from Nicks and Bruises.
And this is
The
crossover.
crossover.
Yeah. How you doing today?
I'm good. It's been a eventful day. I'm got a lot of energy, ready for this game tonight, and ready for the post game show too. We got a eventful day for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how ready I am for this game, but we will see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to watch the first game live.
Okay.
I didn't get to see any of it actually, so I watched it last night. So that game is still pretty fresh in my mind. And we played pretty well in that game for the most of the game, to be honest. So it's not as discouraging or crushing. It's more of an overall of the season that is hurting right now than that particular loss. If you know what I mean.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. Let's get into our first segment.
All right, yeah, Nicks and Bruises. I'm gonna go with the Nick, and my Nick, as of right now is Alec Burks remaining to start at the point guard. At this point, I think the best option would be going with quickly, and really seeing what he can do with these last stretch of games. Maybe putting Burks back into a point where he's at his strength, which is like microwave scoring off the bench.
Mhm.
I didn't really care much about it early on. A lot of people had this complaint for a while, but at this point, I think it's really not benefiting us in the win department. You know what I mean? So why not just try something different? So that's my Nick.
Yeah, I mean that's not my Nick, but I can definitely understand where you're getting at with that because I think putting quickly in that starting lineup really gives that second unit, with Rolls out, with Grimes out, with Noel out, with Taj out of the rotation. So now in that second unit, you could put McBride in at point guard, right? You could put Burks back into his normal wing position. You can
Mm-hmm.
play Cam, now that Grimes is out in the wing position, play Obi, play Sims, you know? And the thing, what I do like about IQ in that starting lineup, and I do think this may be why Tibbs is going with Burks over McBride, though I would go IQ over Burks, is because RJ handles the ball so much, because Randall handles the ball so much, whoever you have in this de facto point
Mm-hmm.
guard position has to be somebody that can play on the ball, but also play off the ball
Mm-hmm.
as well. Because at this point in the season, we're not playing a traditional point guard that's going to have the ball in his hands all the time and setting up everything. That's not going to happen. They'll have it maybe 25% of the time, maybe. So I think, in that case, Burks is okay, but I think quickly would be better and it would put Burks back
And
in
I
that
think
bench position.
you made a great point about the on ball off ball, because even that one of the reasons why I think Tibbs recognizes Burks' ability to play the point guard is because for Burks to be at his best, he needs the ball in his hands anyway. If you notice, when the ball's not in Burks' hand,
Hmm.
he's very limited in how he can affect the game positive positively. Like, obviously he could be a
Hmm.
spot up guy and hit that spot up shot, but he's not doing much more than that. He's not cutting, he's not very I don't want to call him useless without the ball in his hands, but he's
Hmm.
very limited in how he affects the game. Where
Right.
quickly is very adept to playing with or without the ball. He's not
Right.
going to just be standing there. And if he is just standing there, he's probably a little bit more of a threat than Burks is, because not only can he spot up, but he can put the ball on the floor and kind of at least get to that floater game.
Right.
Burks has not been very effective
At
at
that.
the rim this
Yeah, like
year.
he puts up some sort of shot he puts up. Yeah. I would say that since you got the Nick, I'll just go straight to the bruise. And my bruise for this week is the fact that we're talking lottery already. That we actually had a lottery show today, with 20 something games left. So I think that's my bruise because I came into the season with, even if you don't want to say high expectations, it wasn't this low that
Yeah,
we wouldn't even make the play in, or looks like we're not going to make the play in, right? So to already be talking lottery, already be talking draft, that's what I meant. We had a draft show today. To
yeah.
already be talking draft, like that this early, that's a bruise. Um, that's a bruise for sure. Great show by you though. Um, I
Thank
caught the
you.
tail end of it, and I'll have to go back over it and start taking notes as I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
ready,
I mean,
for the draft.
that was my intent in the show, as far as, because coming into the season,
Mhm.
I told myself, I don't even gotta look at college basketball this year, because it don't matter who we draft or where we're picking. You know,
Right.
I'll figure that out when the time comes. So I haven't really been following, so I'm behind on that aspect. So I've been checking these guys out.
Mhm.
New Generation Media, for those of you who missed the show, or want to check those guys out. They do great content on the draft every year. I found them last year, and I'm like, yo, let me reach out and try to get just an idea of who's out there. Some guys that'll
Mhm.
fit the Knicks. Uh, EJ is a Knicks fan, so I knew he would, even if he hadn't done it publicly on a show. I knew he was in his mind scoping out some guys that would
Mhm.
would fit us
Right,
and
right,
help us.
right.
So shout out to him. But yeah, I did not expect to be talking draft this early, for sure. So
Yeah.
I get why it's a bruise, and
Yeah.
secretly it's a bruise for me too. But I'm like, you know what? Let me, the show's Nicks and Bruises. Let me try to capitalize on some of these hard times.
Yeah, 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 definitely for sure. So, all right, let's move on
Yeah.
to the next. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, I was just gonna say, let's keep it going. What we
Yeah,
got
let's move.
next?
Let's move on to the next segment, Nick Narratives, where we talk about some storylines or narratives about the Knicks this week, and we made up our own. What we wanted to talk about, and that is taking a look at our young players and asking ourselves what would they need to do, or what would need to happen for them to be in the rotation. And I guess part of that question we can also ask is, should they even be in the are they do you think they would be ready to be in the rotation next year? So I mean, should we let's start with the people that's not in the go ahead. What you was gonna say?
Well, if you go back to my Nick and you know Alec Burks starting, and then as you said quickly, potentially starting, it puts everybody in their proper roles. Uh, I mean, quickly, you could argue whether he's a point guard or not, but he's probably adapted much better into that role than I think Burks has in that role, right? So let's see what he can do with the starting unit.
Hmm.
Get McBride in the second unit. Burks
Hmm.
back to the natural position. Everything you just mentioned, it
Hmm.
fits right into what I think would need to happen for at least everybody to get a fair opportunity to see if they can get into that second unit, because
Right,
or get into that rotation, because everybody's not going to get in, obviously.
right,
We got guys out right now that is
right.
this is their opportunity to show.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's funny.
But what would they need to do though to get in the rotation for next year? So that's part of it. I agree with you. At least if they get on the court this year, we'll at least get to see some of, what they're able to do, on the basketball court. But for example, I don't know if you want to start with people in the rotation or let's start with people out of the rotation. Um, like for example, what would Grimes need to do next year to stay in the rotation? Or even if it's not him, what would need to happen on the team in order for him to
Mm.
be in the rotation?
Well, I think let's start with the guys out, right?
Yeah.
And I say that because I think Grimes made his way in, not for
I don't
injury.
think
He
he's going to be in though. If
Grimes, you
everybody is
don't think so?
healthy, if everybody is healthy, where would he fit in the rotation? If like this year, if every Derrick Rose is healthy,
Mm-hmm.
RJ Barrett, remember Barrett was out also with that injury that kept him in because there was gonna be
No, no, I agree with what I'm saying is based off the opportunity he got. However, he got it. I think he's made it his case already. So even if he's not in, like for sure, he's the first guy. You know what I mean? Like, let's say it's a 10-man rotation. He's 11. You know what I mean? So he's the closest one to establishing himself as somebody in the rotation. But I'm
right.
hard pressed to say he's not in it, even if it's
He's not. That's what I'm
a
saying.
reduced
What would
role.
need to happen for him to be in the rotation? I think we would have to trade Burks if we
Okay,
could, and I
I
think
get where you're going.
or move 28 to the bench. Like that's the only way I see Grimes being in the rotation next year. Or
Mm,
or they decide to make Burks situational.
okay, I see where you was going, and I mean I agree with that. I think that writing's on the wall. I don't think Burks comes back in the sense that I think they try to move him. I think they definitely try to move him. I think somebody has to go regardless. You know what I mean? I think the addition of Cam, it I say that because the addition of Cam also means the subtraction of a first round pick. Like you know what I mean? So you the addition of Cam makes
Mhm.
somebody has have to move, even if it's not for Cam. I'm just saying his addition or the subtraction of that first round pick makes it so that something has to change. It's just like Tibbs has had alluded to as far as taking somebody out the rotation and bringing somebody in and saying play him, and that's not fair to Tibbs. But on top of that, you gave up a first round pick as well.
Right.
So I think you got to make some type of move. It's inevitable, and I agree. I think it's one of I think Burks is the guy out. I don't I think it's easier to move him less money
Mhm.
expiring than it is to move Fournier at this point. So
That's for Grimes. Now we're gonna get to Cam. So because remember, there's only but so many
mhm,
rotation spots. So for Cam to get in the rotation, we got to move Burks pretty much either situational out of the rotation or off the team, right? What would
I'll give
need
you
to
another one.
what's that?
Quickly actually playing out the season, maybe in a starting role and actually exceeding expectation, like showing that hey, maybe he could start. Maybe that's what I should have did from the beginning, which would change the dynamic and open up another rotation
So that
spot
the Knicks
off
would.
off the bench.
But this is the thing. Even if you start, we talking next season now. Even
Mm-hmm.
if quickly start and Rose is still here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got Rose, you got Grimes, you got so yeah, um Cam could start.
Yeah,
That's
especially
asking
if
a lot.
Burks is gone too.
Right. So basically you're saying that if IQ first of all, number one, gets into the starting lineup and then balls out to the point where they decide not to pursue a point guard in the off season. That would be a way to get both Cam um and Grimes in the rotation.
Hmm.
That's a long shot, but that's a way. That's a way to get them in the
And I'm
rotation.
still of the belief that if not for Quickly's ability, whether you believe in it or not, but his ability to play the point guard role, I think he's fighting with Grimes for the minutes more than Cam is. I think Cam is a lot better suited at playing at three. I
Right.
think Cam is more likely to be the guy at this point to spell RJ
Hmm.
than Grimes is. And I only say that I love Grimes, but the height alone, you have to factor that in as an advantage in Cam's sense. As good as Grimes is defensively, I think he's not going to be as good against threes full time than a Cam would.
Right.
I
They play
think
different positions. Grimes
yeah,
is a shooting
it,
guard.
I agree.
Cam is a small forward.
But the speculation is that he could be the three coming off the bench, or you know what I mean. I just think
I don't think so. I don't
that's
think
what.
he
Well,
could
that's
play the
why. So
three.
you agree that he and
I think
Quickly are more in the fighting of position roles or rotation spots than
yeah.
he and
Then
Cam.
yeah. I think him and yeah, Cam is a three. Yeah,
So
he's a
when you
three.
say that, Cam should be more safe as far as who do we have to spell RJ right now?
I don't even
Burks.
know. Burks.
When he's not starting at the point guard, you know what I mean.
Right,
So
right.
I think Cam might be the safest guy right now, just because anybody else filling in for RJ is playing out of position.
Right. So in order for Grimes to get minutes though, Burks have to go because I think with Tibbs, I don't know if he would. Burks would either have to go or be situational because Burks can play both of those positions. He's 6'6". He could play the two or he could play the three. So
Or the one apparently.
or the one apparently. Right, right. For so for Cam to get time, it's the same thing. Burks has to go, or he has to be if he has to be situational. I think or Rose has to go because if
Which
Rose goes, then you could put IQ at the one, and you could still do Cam, and you could still do um, Grimes. So when the bottom line is for those two players, we're gonna have to get rid of one or two vets or make them situational. And we're talking about Burks being situational. We're talking about Rose being situational or off the team, And I think I can see that happening maybe with Burks. Listen, we went over the salary cap. When you go over that salary cap, excuse me, the salary cap and the contracts for the Knicks, I don't know how much change we're going to be able to do in the off season. You got to find
yeah.
somebody who wants a Burke. I don't know if somebody wants a Burke straight up. And if you bring in, so that means you would have to trade him for somebody not in your rotation.
Hmm.
And if you're trying to clear up space, you can't
Hmm.
trade him for a draft pick. You got to take something back, unless you take
I
back an
mean,
expiring who's injured and somebody you're not going to
I mean,
play.
yeah. I mean, you got to be bringing back somebody you're not gonna play, but
Mhm.
don't discount the fact that you could be moving Burks, getting a pick, and taking back a player that is not going to be in the rotation.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
That's what I'm saying.
you know what I mean. So you could, I mean, you could do both. You could still
Right.
get the pick. The pick would be the value part that you're getting in return, and then you're eating somebody who's going to be at the back of the rotation, maybe a backup or third string five who might be able to shoot, but just hasn't put you know what I mean, put it together. Like, so he has value, but
Hmm.
it's at the back of the
But that player has to
situational
be
lineup.
making, what is Burks making? 10?
9, 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many back end bigs, but anyway, somebody,
Yeah. Yeah. I
somebody
don't
that's
either.
so basically that's what needs to happen. We got to be able to trade Burke. We got to be able to trade roles that's gonna open up some spots for them. Um, what about those that are? Oh, and McBride. Now this is the tougher one.
I
This is
think
the
both of
tougher.
I think both of them got to go for McBride to have a chance.
Yeah, because if Rose is gone to open up that backup point guard spot for Quick, that means the Knicks are bringing in a point guard, right? I don't see the Knicks, even though I think this would work in terms of getting all of our young players time. I don't see the Knicks coming into next season with Quickly as the starting point guard. I don't I don't
I
see it.
mean, it's a long shot, absolutely,
It's a long
and I'm
shot,
not even advocating for it. I was
right?
just giving a
Yeah,
scenario,
yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean,
yeah. That's
that it could work. So I
yeah.
don't see it either. I think I mean, it's tough. Like, this is another reason why this stretch is important to see what these young guys are, because somebody's got to move regardless, right? Whether it's a vet or a young guy, the young guys need to be able to be seen and looked at as valuable to be thrown in a trade packet. You know what I mean? Make somebody want this guy. Like, oh,
Right.
you're not gonna use him. I like what I've seen from him. Add him to this piece, and you know what I mean. So let's not discount one of these young guys moving. I just don't know if other teams even know what we have in these guys because we don't.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to the chat: Sherwin M, Walter White, Willie Cruz, Hector Gaston, D Schools 718, Singer, Waldrone. I hope I said that right. Appreciate all of you, Clinton Sims, and all the rest that's in here for rocking with us. Walter
Like,
White, McBride is Pinson unless someone gets someone gets hurt. But let's talk about it. So what would need to happen for McBride to be the backup point guard? I think a lot would need to happen.
I mean, the funny thing is, if these guys get the opportunity and ball out like the rest of the way, right?
Hmm.
We play the young guys and they all start balling. Then what? Then what happens? You know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
that's what we speculating.
I mean,
What would need to
that's
happen?
part of
Yeah,
what's. I think that's part of what needs to happen. I don't think. I think that they need the opportunity. They need to perform in it, and then make it a tough decision for Tibbs, the front office, everybody. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's first before we start talking about like moving people. And this guy got to go. They still got to take advantage and show that they're worth moving a Burks, moving on from a Rose, which is I think is going to be a tough task.
right. I don't
Like,
think that's happening
period.
if Tibbs remains the coach. I'm saying that's what would need to happen, but I'm not confident that that would happen. And for McBride, I don't even know what he could do to get in the rotation
Do you
next year
think
if
there's a
Rose is still
scenario
here.
where they ball out and no moves are made,
Well, we may
but
not make any more.
the vets end up being rotational? I mean situational because
That's
you know what I mean.
possible.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that's best case scenario, right?
Well, depending on how they play, it might be
If they
worse.
if they
You
ball
know,
out, I think it can't be worse, right? Than where we are now. I mean, obviously, theoretically, it can. We've
right?
dealt with some 17-win seasons and such, but you know what I mean. If they ball out the rest of the way, and I don't know, we get 11 more wins out of what we got 20 games left, 21 games left.
Hmm.
Let's say we go 11-10. but this is with the young guys, and they actually playing, like affecting the games with wins.
Mhm.
I can see a scenario where we say we're gonna ride out with these young guys next year. They showed enough. Maybe we made a mistake not playing them early, and the the Noels, the Burks, all these guys on expiring ends up being the guys that are situational until they're able to be moved. And I think as expirants, all of them are going to be able to be moved. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of, are you moving them to move them? Does another team see value in them and they're
Right.
actually pursuing them? Because honestly, as expiring contracts, there's no sense in moving them just to move them. If you
Right.
moving them to make room, you better off just keeping them and putting them as situational. It's, you know what I mean.
But
Especially if you.
you gotta, if you don't get rid of them in this off season,
Mhm.
you gotta play them so that they have some value come the trade deadline.
You
If
don't. If the young guys are playing and balling, it don't matter what Noel's, whether he's playing or not, or whether
you
he
think
has
he's gonna
trade
still have
value.
value
It doesn't
at the
matter.
trade deadline,
He's expiring, is what I'm saying.
but
So
you can
now
still
you don't.
get something for the expiring though. You're right. You could just let them expire and get the cap space. I can't hear you.
Noel at this point, Burks at this point. Let's just stick with them two. They're not gonna show anything between now and next year's trade deadline that's gonna make their value go up. You know, and
It's
I
not
say
about
that
going
to
up, but
say,
it could be lower. Like say if so
what I'm
now
saying is, if they're not playing it, I don't think it drops. I think the surrounding teams already know who they are, so they're either gonna want them based off of who they know they are. It don't matter if they're not playing. It's not like a young guy. I think young guys' values go down
but
more
Noel, you would need
from
to
not
play him
playing.
so that they can see that he's healthy at least.
Healthy. Okay, I can. That's a fair. That's a
Yeah,
fair
so
point.
that they you can see
That's a fair point.
right.
That's a
And also
that's
let's keep in mind just because somebody balls out this year doesn't mean they're going to continue to ball out next season. We've seen that
I
with
I know.
Randall.
I'm just saying
Right.
it's more logical that he. It doesn't matter about their trade value. It doesn't matter if you move them or not because you don't have to.
Hmm.
If you're playing these young guys and they're performing and you're winning, it doesn't really matter what their trade value is because they're expiring.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I get it.
you don't have to move them. You
Hmm.
could leave them there for moral support. And I think even with that happening, I think they have a large enough viewpoint, or people seen them enough to know who they are and if they want to trade for these guys. I think with a young guy, it's harder to make that decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you
I
may not
mean,
have seen it as much of them.
right. This is what I will say. Just knowing the track record of young players, I can't see anybody on this team balling out consistently because that's just where young players are. They're going to be up and down, and you just have to allow that. So if we're talking about another lottery bound team next year where we're just letting the young guys play, I'm all for it. I'm all
Hmm.
for it. But just understand it's going to be ups and downs, and we're not going to get a lot of wins for the most part. And this is what it's going to be. Right. And even if RJ takes even another step, he's going to need more support than an up and down McBride, a up and down um, Sims, a up and down. You know what I mean? That's just, in my opinion, I don't
I
think
do,
that's going to be
but
enough to
I
take you to the
also
lot to the
I also
playoffs.
feel like if RJ, if everybody played well this year, I think we're a better team than what we've shown. So you know what I
But
mean?
everybody would be including the vets. You're talking about taking them out.
All right, let's say this. Do you envision, do you think there's a possibility, and I hate to do this, where McBride started the season and we didn't make the Kemba move, and we have a better season right now
No,
than no? You don't think that's
not with
possible?
McBride. Maybe IQ.
I think it's possible. I think there's a number of situations that I think IQ is a possibility as well. But or even if you say IQ and then McBride was the backup point guard in Rose's absence, you know what I mean? So third string moved up to. I think there's a possibility that we were better in that situation as
I mean,
well.
it's anything is possible. Let's put it that way. Anything is possible. We've been watching the game long enough to know what you need to succeed in this league, and you got to have players you can count on game in and game out. It's hard to count on those. Look, RJ is just rounding into shape his third year. Mitch, it's his fourth year. He still hasn't, round. Well, he's sort of rounding into shape. So this same season where Randall is not playing well, Fournier, I think he's been playing well for the most part, but he has
As of
games
late.
in which I'm not. You can't tell me that McBride in that starting lineup would have made a difference. I think much more would have had to happen in order for the season to be different, more so than just substituting in McBride. And the
I-
number one thing that would have needed to happen is Randall needed to show up similar to he did last year. If you don't have
or
that,
RJ started the season the way he's playing
well, we
now.
would have needed both of them.
I
We would have
mean,
needed both of them.
I for the long run, yes, but I mean, I think either one would have been a better situation than what we're in. Is what I'm saying because we dealt with both Randall playing like that pretty much all year. Yeah, like he had a nice like 10 game stretch or whatever where he might even played better than last year, even though we didn't win games. But I think so much. I think every little thing is like the butterfly effect. You know what I mean? Like I think you change one thing, one little thing, and that could change the whole course of a season. I believe that.
Yeah, no
You
doubt
know what I mean?
about it.
Like
But think about how much has gone wrong though. Rose injury, um, RJ, not getting off to a quicker start. Randall falling off a cliff. Noel injury, Mitch injury, and Wake. I mean, there's so much that has happened. I think would have needed to happen than just
mm,
McBride being in the rotation. Like I don't
I
get the
mean,
whole McBride thing quite honestly. I think now I would definitely like to see him play, but this idea that he was the difference in our season, or our season would have been different if he was in
or
he would have been in the rotation over who? Over Derrick Rose?
no, no,
Over
no, no.
who?
I, I'm
Over no, not you,
see.
not you,
I
not
don't.
you. I'm just talking about in
I,
general,
I
the fan
I
base.
understand, because I felt the same way when I argued against it. But I'm also, you know what I mean. Put it like this: all those little situations you name, I think all of them could have. If one of those things didn't happen, I think that could have changed our season completely. Derrick Rose
Possible,
not getting hurt, I think that could have changed our season
possible.
completely. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm putting it in like a micro. uh, Like, I'm not
I get
saying
it.
Deuce would have been the different maker, but
Hmm.
maybe Deuce just being an average rookie point guard might have been better than what we went through. I don't want to like
But
make it about Kemba. I
hindsight is always 2020. Like
Yeah,
he
that's
would
why
not.
it's
Yeah,
not definitive. I'm
right.
just
He
saying
he
it
wouldn't
could
have
be.
played over Kimba though.
No, no, I'm saying Kimber not being here.
Oh, if we didn't
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
oh, okay.
like so even if I don't say McBride, maybe if I say if we never made the move for Kemba, maybe that our season's different.
It
You know
might
what I
have
mean?
been
Like
different, but I doubt if McBride would have been in the rotation with Tibbs as the coach. McBride should have been in over quickly. I know people are down on Quick because he's not shooting well, but he's doing the other things well. Our
yeah,
on off numbers that we're a better team when he's on the floor than when he's off the floor, despite the fact that he's not shooting well. And there's a lot of frustration with Quickly in the fan base. But just think about it. A lot of us are saying that we would rather lose with the young players, that we would rather watch the young players play, even if we lose, and that we would be okay with it. But yet we're very frustrated with IQ. If these young guys play, this is what we're gonna see, like five IQs, just the up and down play because they're young. It's to be it's to be expected, you know. But I like Quickly's defense. It is worlds apart from last year. Um, and I think his shot selection is not great, but it's nothing like last year where he would just I
the,
don't know what yeah it's it's
the
it's
mess the messed
that
up thing is it felt like he made
he
more
made more of them.
of those horrible shots like
You're right. You're
last
right.
year.
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
But to Quickly's defense is I feel like even though he's not shooting the ball as good as he did last year, he's made, like you said, so many different. He's playing a position of responsibility where last year it wasn't really any responsibility except hit the shot you take. You want to take that shot, you better hit it. Like that was
Mhm.
his only responsibility. Like, oh, you gonna
Right.
take those, you better hit them. Now it's you got responsibility to run the offense, and we kind of saying still be you. So I think he's added responsibility, and I think that's why his percentage has
It's
gone
down.
down.
Yeah, and think about it. Next season, Rose is back. You got both Quickly and Grimes playing the same position. They both play the same position.
Yeah, that's the fight right there to
You
me.
know, they yeah, they play the same position. Cam plays the three. So if nothing changes, it's going to be Cam and Burke duking it out in training camp over who backs up RJ. Um, I don't see Fournier unless we trade him coming out of the starting lineup. You know, I don't see that happening, and so it's gonna be and IQ and Grimes will be duking it out and to see who's gonna back up Fournier. You know, and that point guard position is wide open. Do we get somebody to fill it, or do we move IQ into that spot? Do we start roles, which Tibbs doesn't really like to do? All right. So
Yeah,
let's get to
if
go
no
ahead.
moves
I'm
are
listening.
made, I say start quickly. If no moves are made, minus obviously, I don't think Kemba is coming back, whether he is with the team or on the team, or
Hmm.
not. I don't think he's coming back next year either. Um,
Who this?
I so
Who
I
did you
say,
say?
oh, Kemba, I don't think he's
Oh,
coming
Kimba.
back
Yeah, I
next
don't
year
think he's
either.
coming back either.
He's under contract, but I think
Yeah.
something gets worked out or figured out.
Right. And looking at the salary, we may have the pretty much the same team with maybe just a point guard.
Or
I
the
don't know
same
if there's
team,
any major trades changes the Knicks can make.
or the same team, just minus Kemba.
Oh my
Like that,
God. Yeah.
that might be it. I don't
The
know if
same
we.
team, I can't see Burks in the start. I can't.
I mean,
I can't.
hopefully by then, one of quickly is say they believe in him enough. They say Rose, if hey we need you in the starting lineup, we'll play you no more than 5 minutes a quarter. You know what I mean? Or at least no more than 5 minutes to start the game. But we need you to start the game. Like
Yeah.
it don't have to be Burks. I wish Tibbs would realize that, but it
It
doesn't
doesn't
have
have
to
to be.
be Burks.
And it's not even, you could talk about how bad he is in the starting lineup, but for me, it's also about what he's not giving us in that
The
second unit
closing or in the closing minutes,
in the
where
closing
where
minutes.
he seems to be winded, just like Randall.
Right. Right. We got we only got 10 minutes.
Oh wow.
So we got a new segment called Cutting Room Floor. And for those who follow the MBK shows, there's some takes that are made or things that we talk about really briefly that we don't get a chance to talk about in full. So we said we would bring it, to the crossover and talk more about it. This came up today in the MBK pregame show where we talked about the Knicks not being able to close and how Fournier talked about them not having confidence in the fourth quarter and not knowing, looking around and not really knowing where to go in the fourth quarter. So I just wanted to um, talk about that and also get the chat opinion. I was wondering with RJ's emergence, could that be, something where people down the stretch don't know, should we go to RJ, should we go to Randall? Or Sim brought up the point when RJ has the ball in those closing minutes, they're expecting him to shoot, and now he's playmaking, and passing the ball, and they're not ready for that because they're not used to seeing him in that role. Any thoughts on um, Fournier and his thoughts that the Knicks aren't confident or don't really know where to go down the stretch?
See, man, to me, part of that is, and I love Fourier because I think he's subtly insinuating that he should be an option, if not
Oh,
the if not the option, a option.
hmm,
Um, without like trying to throw anyone under the bus or call anyone out. But I think it's fair because Randall has looked scared down the stretch, uncharacteristically scared down the stretch, probably for like a month and a half, right around the time or after the thumbs down thing. Once
hmm,
that boiled over and he started having those good games, if you notice, the fourth quarter was becoming horrible for him. Not just the turnovers, but the missed clutch free throws, and
yeah,
then he started kind of giving the ball up in certain instance that in the past he would have took the opportunity to be the hero or the man, whether we liked it back then or not. You know what I
hmm,
mean? Like he shied away from that. So I think part of it is Randall not taking that responsibility anymore, kind of saying, "Let me dish it off to someone." And then part of that is also RJ missing clutch free throws as well. I don't think it changed. RJ hasn't shown anything as far as a fear to still have the ball and the opportunity take that shot or attempt, but maybe a pass is hesitant to go to him in that opportunity, knowing he's not a liable, reliable free throw shooting. So I think all that mixed in with Fournier pretty much having good first, second, third quarters and not really being, whether it's found or him taking initiative, whatever the case, not being effective in the fourth or
hmm.
down the stretch much. I think in my brain, I think he was kind of saying, hey, hello. You know what I mean? Like, I, I, I can
Right.
help in these moments. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
and
a
I
good
can help
point.
at the free throw line as well.
Yeah, I know I didn't even think about that, but what's coming to my head also is he could, when he's saying we're not confident, that could also be his way of saying Randall is not confident
Hmm.
down the stretch, but not really wanting to single him out, and so just putting it on the team that we're not confident. But he can probably see that Randall's not confident, um, you know, down the stretch. But it can also be we've given up so many games, we've given up so many leads that down the
We're not.
stretch we're
We're
just
not.
not confident that
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
close, and it's in our head at this point. It's in our head
Absolutely.
at this point. We're losing confidence. Nobody wants to be aggressive. We took one foul shot in the fourth quarter. People stopped
Mm.
going to the basket. Like, what happened?
and
You know,
and, and we were kind of neck and neck with them in free throws, right?
I
Last game,
believe
like
so.
they didn't
Yeah, it's a
like
lot of
I. It
combined.
was
It was like I don't know
combined. It
how
was
many.
like a record. They were
Yeah,
saying that all day.
right,
Record for first quarter free throws attempted by
right,
two teams.
right, right,
Record is
right,
second. You know what I mean? Like
right.
so, it
Yeah,
wasn't one sided. Even though I feel like they did miss a lot of calls, especially in RJ Barrett's favor.
yeah. But he
Um,
went 10 times. I don't know if they're gonna, you know.
he went 20 the game before, and I feel
Mhm.
like he should have been closer to 20 than 10. You know what I mean? That's all I would say.
Yeah.
He started getting them calls late. I will say that.
Well, not late enough. We went to the game to the one, one time. So somebody in the chat asked us, and maybe we can talk about it real quick. This is um word is that the Knicks and Mitch are not close on an extension. And I read that the max he can make, I thought early in the year was 4 years 56, but in this article it said 4 years 48.
48.
Um,
Yeah, 12.
so I
So
don't know which one. I don't know which one is correct. Um,
let, I think it's, let's just say between 12 and 13 per, because I heard exactly what you said at 12
mhm,
million, and I've also heard 13.
okay. So
To
between
me,
12 and 13, and they're not even close. Wow. Wow. And then we're looking at potential. Like I'm like, and I'm up and down on Mitch. Like sometimes I look at him and be like, yo, wow, this guy can be an elite center. And sometimes I look at him and like, come on already. It's the fourth year. So if they're not close, 12 to 13 million, what are the Knicks
that's
offering?
scary.
8 to 10?
That's yeah, that's to me that's low ball, and and
Let's
and
chat. Is that low ball offering Mitch
it,
8 to 10? If that is the case. If that is the case.
I
We
think
don't
if you
know.
look around, if you just look around the league, which sometimes I hate to do that, but
Hmm.
sometimes that's the best way to gauge
Hmm.
if you're looking at it from. I mean, you could look at it from a front office or a player's point of view. That's the best way to gauge and kind of negotiate what I'm willing to pay you, or as the player, what you think I'm worth. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously you're not gonna pay him off of what you think his top potential is, which, I mean, let's just say hypothetically that's Gobert. So you're not gonna give him 30 something million a year, obviously, right?
Hmm.
Without proving that you could be close to that level,
Hmm.
and maybe even if you're that level, you think that's too high. But but if you look at the people that put up the same amount of numbers as him, the
Hmm.
same kind of field goal percentage, which ultimately says that you're the same type of player, a rim runner, offensive rebound, putback guy that you know what I mean.
Hmm.
You look at the guys in that range, and that's what the number is. You know what I mean? It maybe even a little bit more.
You
So
think
if
he's
you
better than the Williams in
Williams,
for Boston?
nope. I mean, I think he has better potential, but at this moment in time, no. But I don't think he's far off either. You know what I mean? Like, and the fact of the matter is, the max that they could offer him is still less than what Williams gets, right?
Williams is 56.
Yeah. So that's what
13,
I'm saying.
13, 20.
It's still less than what that guy's getting. So if they're not close, yeah, y'all lowballing him. Like you, when I was saying 11 million, the chat was like, he ain't taking 11 million. Like that's too low.
Right.
Like, and right now
Building
that's right in the middle.
Building Root said that he thinks New York is offering 11 to 12, but Mitch is holding out for more than that once free agency hits.
Okay,
That is why I think Mitch hasn't accepted, that they're buying time. And I guess he means
that makes sense.
the
I mean,
agents.
another team could offer more,
Hmm.
but if that was the case and y'all close to the max of what you can offer him, then y'all should have traded him.
Mhm.
You should have traded him and got what you can get, whether it's 2 seconds, whether it's you know what I mean, a player in the you know what I mean, like whatever it is better than him walking and you getting nothing. That's the only reason why I'm under the assumption that we
Right.
got him, like we're gonna resign him because
Or a sign and trade. You could do a sign and trade
or
for
sign a
him.
trade.
Yeah.
But that even that would have to be a promise. You know what I mean? Like
Well, the reason why he may want to do it is it may allow him to get more
get
money.
more money.
Like the Knicks is not going to pay it, but this team is willing to pay it, but they don't have the assets, to sign him outright. And the Knicks may do a sign and trade so that if that team has something that they want. So I think that's an option
Well,
um
hopefully it's under the
as well.
table and they already know, you know what I mean, the direction. That's what I'm saying because it still has to be agreed upon by three parties. So unless you got that under the table in writing, you know what I mean, you still
Mhm.
risking losing them for nothing.
I think they probably have a good idea they can do a sign and trade because who has money? And if who has that type of money on the open market that needs a center that can give him more than 12 million a year?
And that's the other thing. Is it on? Is it just about money? Is it just about the? I want the most I could get. I don't care where I play. I'll go to you know, wherever.
If they have the space. I mean, that's something we have to look at. Who has space this summer that needs and I'm sure the Knicks have done this.
Yeah,
And
Detroit.
they see that whoever doesn't have space, if they want Mitch, it's going to have to be a sign and trade. Mitch,
Okay.
get your money. You've been underpaid for too long,
And
Joel. Slightly underpaid.
and
No,
oh,
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say it.
and
He's been
you know
underpaid. He's been
that's the other
underpaid.
thing. Like when you were savvy in your signing of him as a second round pick, and pretty much, I don't want to say you lowballed him then because maybe you didn't know, but at some point you realize, hey, what he's giving us, we got to steal at this money. You should in the back of your mind say, let me make up for some of that. You know what I mean? Like as an incentive because
But Tony, he ain't been playing all that well. You got to think about it. He's been injured a lot. He's been in foul trouble a lot. He's still raw. He's coming along slowly. I
ag-
don't
ag-
know if you look and be like, oh, well, he's underpaid. We need to pay him more. He's been
mm,
injured. He
I
played
mean,
66 out of 82, 31 out of 72. Now, this is the most healthy, he's been in terms of games played, but he had to play himself, back into shape. I don't, I mean, I think if he would have came out like Allen, who was with the
I,
Nets, I think they would have maybe tried to get ahead of it.
I know, but Allen got a huge contract, deservingly so. I'm talking about even with the injuries, even with his lack of
Mhm.
outside shot, even with all his limitations, 2 million, less than 2 million a year for the past 4 years. That
He
that's
was a
way under.
raw undrafted.
That's
I don't think so.
based off
I
his
think,
his his numbers alone tell you that. Like
what's his
you
numbers?
just
8.7
eight and
rebounds,
eight.
one.
Just say 8 and 8, and just look around the league, and I bet you they making a lot more than 1.8 million.
8 and 8 is the backup centers who are making minimum. Like who's making? I mean, those guys may have been drafted, so because of their draft position, that locked them into that money. But as a
But
as a,
that's
a
but
front
that's what
office,
I
that's
mean.
your job to see what kind of what you can get. You took a chance on him,
I
to
agree.
sign
That's
him to
that's
that.
why I said. That's
Mhm.
why I said it's not like they lowballed them intentionally. Like, oh, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm saying once a year passed, 2 years passed, at some point you realize we got like this is a steal of a deal. That's what I'm saying. Not like
But
you
I,
went
but
into
I
it.
I
I
hear
think it.
what you're saying. Even afterwards, I don't see at any point along this way where I would have been like, all right, let's give Mitch 10 million per. And
Mm.
even if they tried, he might have said, nah, I'm gonna play this out. They may have. They may have even tried. Like even now, they're trying to sign him, And he's probably saying, nah, I think I can get more in. So he's playing, he's
So,
betting on himself. He might be
so
betting on himself.
that's a fact. But I think if that was the case, that would be what's reported, right? Because that doesn't that make the most sense
Hmm.
than a reporter coming out and saying they're far apart. If the Knicks are giving him close to the max that they can or max that they can, they're not far apart. You know what I mean? He don't want to take the offer. I think that would be what's reported.
Hmm.
The fact that they're saying they're far apart, I think it's more than he just wants to test free agency. Because why not come out and say that and play the
Nah,
you know what I
the way
mean?
the Knicks are, they probably spoke with his agents about how they wanna, why they want to handle it, because neither side is talking really. These reports are from people who say they have inside information. You know,
It,
if the Knicks are trying to get him for 8 million, I don't. That's not happening. I don't. I'm not saying they are, but if they trying to get him for 8 million, it's not happening. But
yeah,
anyway,
and if that's the case, that's kind of I think a slap in the face, in my opinion.
I think when we think about Mitch, we thinking about his potential more so than what he's doing right now. We think about
I
the
used to
time.
when I was
Mhm,
saying 14, 15 million, you know what I mean? I was talking about potential. But I've looked up the
mhm,
people throughout the league that are averaging close to what he averaged.
mhm,
You know what I mean? And then I look at the player and see what their capabilities are as far as like obviously anybody shooting in the high 60s and 70s in free throw or in field goal percentage, they're not shooting many jump shots. You know what I mean? Like the jump shooting
right.
centers, the great ones, Jokic is shooting in the 50% range, which is great, but they shooting threes and stuff too. So I'm looking at the people shooting 60 and up in field goal percentage and what they're averaging, points, rebounds, and what they're making. And it's in that 11 million plus range. Like nobody's getting 10. So
But do they have the injury history that Mitch has? Are they shooting
I didn't
fifty
go that
percent
depth.
from the
Or
from
free
the
throw line.
from the from the
So-
from
so-
the from
some
the
of them,
free throw
some
line?
of them are, some of them
you
are.
know,
But
and you
that's
can always
horrible.
talk about a player's per, but why is it a per? Why aren't they playing that many numbers? Because they're injured or they're not that good. That's why it's a per. you know. But anyway, um, Mitch is gonna get paid whether he's with um Rich Jim. No, I would say no.
What
Um,
what did he say?
can you
I
honestly say
honestly
that Mitch
saying,
is a dependable player when you need him? Um, you know,
I mean,
yeah, we'll see. I'm okay with the Knicks. If the Knicks want to pay him 12 million, I'm all right. I would have liked to have seen more over his first 4 years, but
I mean, it's tough. It's tough because I mean, I was one that defended the Noel contract. I can't do that today. You know what I mean? But so in hindsight, I can see the concern
hmm
with basically dealing with Noel this year. Like
hmm
you would hate that to be a Mitch year, and it's not far fetched to say that he could potentially play 25 games in the season in a
right,
particular season due to injury. So I get the concern. I definitely
right.
do.
I mean, you're banking on his potential. Like, if you
Or
think
his
he's going to
health.
stay healthy, right? If you think he's going to stay healthy, you think he's going to continue to grow into his body. I mean, there's some games where he's dominant, 14 points, 17 rebounds, 2 blocks. You're like, whoa, you know? Um, I think we can have both building roots. I think we can get a point guard and retain Mitch. We can go over the salary cap to sign him, you know? So I don't think signing Mitch stops us from getting a point guard.
And I don't think Mitch stops us from getting another center because Noel is gone after next year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
you can keep Mitch and bring in a more versatile center. You know what I mean? So now you have a yin and yang, if you will, at the center position. That would be the route I would prefer to go rather than
Right.
just going the opposite route with a shooting defense. I mean, if it's the right guy, sure, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Just a shooting center and maybe lacks a lot of the defensive presence that Mitch has. Or
Right. Yeah. Joel, I do own a business. I'm doing very well. Everybody is happy. Thank you. I understand leadership and playing people more than the market to keep them happy because turnover costs a company. I get it. I understand. My questioning is whether or not Mitch has earned it because you don't want to be overpaying people who haven't earned it or who you don't feel is going to be there to do the job. um, Given his injury history and his up and down in year four, has he developed enough year to year for you to believe in year four that you're going to get so much more? I think his development is coming along slowly, and I do think injuries have something to do with it, to be fair.
I mean, you make great points because of like the contracts we just signed. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And we overpaid pretty much all of them, right? Burks, Noel,
Let me
like
tell you, when those free agent signings came down, I was like, because out listen, the Knicks, they had money, they had young players, they had draft capital. So when the signings came down, we signed Burke. I said, who? Burks? Noel. Ted, like I was like, so we just bringing back the same, we just bringing back the same players. I wasn't happy. Mm, mm, mm.
the messed up thing is, even though I could say in hindsight I was wrong as far as saying, yeah, I'm not mad they overpaid these guys to bring them back. I think it makes even more sense to overpay a Mitch than the Noels, the Burks, the
Noel has just turned into a literal toothpick. He's just turned into a literal toothpick. You know, Rebuild New York totally blew the off season, and everybody's talking about, oh, we're gonna have money in 2013. We had money in 2021. You know what I mean? I'm tired of kicking the can down the road. Anyway, it's 7:43. I don't even know if the Knicks have tipped off already. They're on
no, it says
ESPN.
7:45. I
Oh,
got
seven
I got
seven
yeah, I
forty
got
five more minutes before tip off.
yeah.
Um, I'm excited to see RJ Barrett again going against Harden, and I like the fact that he's guarding those guys. Like he's guarding Harden, he's guarding Butler when we played Miami, and even if Butler was giving him the business a little bit, he was giving it back. So
46 of them.
yeah,
46.
exactly.
I don't know what's going on. My app keeps telling me to retry.
But anyway, we out of here. We appreciate you guys, and ladies, if there were any rocking with us. And we will see you MBK. We're doing the post game. If I don't fall asleep, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I gotta prioritize my sleep, but I'm gonna try to get there tonight. I'm off tomorrow for the
Yeah, I hope to see you.
post game.
This is gonna be a quadruple header for me.
Right, right, right,
I did a whole shift, probably 8 hours today after this next
right.
one.
This is your fourth. This is your
For,
third
this
show,
is the
fourth,
third show, and then
and then
post
the
game
post
will be
game.
four.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make the post
And
game.
I might convince Sim to do a front stoop tonight too, because I'm feeling good today. I think the
I
Knicks are
feel
gonna
you.
win today.
All right,
So
let's see.
shout out
Let's
to
see.
the
We in
chat.
Philly.
Your blackest time, peace, queen.
All right, peace.